Welcome, everybody. We are in exciting times, especially when it comes to going abroad, to work, to study, to live. Feels like immigration is a roller coaster and upside down in North America. And we have a great session here to help you guys out. I'm Rob with Chai and Coaching, and we have some amazing guests joining us here. I'm lucky I was actually able to work in India for several years and now love helping people come to study and work here in the US. And with Chai and Coaching, we're all about helping you thrive and succeed in your cross-cultural journeys. Today, we're talking about what's going on with work visas in America and Canada. We've brought probably the two best experts to help you guys out. So first, I want to introduce our friend, Sophie. Sophie, welcome. Introduce yourself for our friends.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Rob, and great to see you, Mark. My name is Sophie Alcorn. I'm the founder of Alcorn Immigration Law, located in Palo Alto, California, where we help really smart, hardworking, dedicated people from around the world find ways to have freedom in the United States and work here and build companies. So I'm really excited for the opportunity to be back on Chai and Coaching. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And Mark, please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Rob. Sophie, good to see you too. Mark Pavlopoulos, founder, CEO of Syndesis. We're a Canadian corporation. We employ Canadians who work remotely for U.S. companies. We also have permission to sponsor Canadian work visas. So we help people who run into challenges, U.S. or globally, offer them a plan B for Canada.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So we're going to do live Q&A at the end. So stay tuned for that. We also got a fun giveaway we're going to do in the middle. So everyone who's live will get a chance to qualify for that. But I'm here in Dallas, Texas. We have Sophie in Bay Area, California. Mark is tuning in up from Toronto, Canada. But we'd love to know where you guys tuned in from. Let us know in the comments. Let's see where our amazing audience is from today. So let us know where you guys are watching from. Some of the things we're going to be talking about are H-1B and work visas, changes in immigration and work visas in Canada, and then doing some compare and contrast for you guys a little bit later. But we've got Bangalore, India, Hyderabad, Toronto. Very cool. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Where else are you guys watching from?
It's great to have such a global group joining today. That's exciting.
We got New York. Welcome, everybody. All right. So to honor everyone's time, we have a lot to cover. We're going to get this party started. And so, Sophie, you're going to take it away and tell us H-1B. I know H-1B season and applications are coming up real soon, and a lot of work visas are going on, things with the Trump administration. So help us know what we need to know and not be too worried about, or what we should be worried about.
Okay. And then I should share my screen for my slides, right?
Now yeah, there's a, perfect. Yeah, if you want to present that, let me know if you need any help.
Oh, I think I do. Actually, if you have my slides, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, actually. Let me pull those up for you real quick.
But yeah, there's been a lot going on in terms of immigration law, and that's just how it goes in a Trump administration, as we're well aware now. In Trump 1.0, it was an interesting time for immigration. We can put it that way. And it is, again, an interesting time. There's a lot going on. H-1B season is happening right now. And so there have been a lot of changes. I'll speak to the H-1B modernization rule and its effects. But basically for the H-1B lottery, it's happening now. If anybody here has an offer from a US company, it could be your own company if you're a startup founder. But those companies need to put any candidates in this year's H-1B lottery, which is happening between March 7th and March 24th. So it actually opens on Friday. And then we're in this 2.5 week period where every employer in the United States that wants to sponsor anybody for an H-1B through the lottery has to put the person's name in this month in that time window to have any chance at getting an H-1B through the lottery for a March 1st start date. So it's super critical that if you have a job offer from a US company, you convince them to put you in the H-1B lottery now. We're happy to help if the company needs help, but those dates in that time period are absolutely critical. So that's one thing. There's been a lot of exciting talk about something called a gold card, which doesn't exist yet. So we're definitely keeping an eye on that. President Trump addressed a joint session of Congress last night, which was definitely in the news. And he did speak a little bit about the gold card in that, which was interesting. And I would say, promising about the direction of US immigration into the future. He specifically spoke about how he wants to allow the most successful job creating people from all over the world to come to the United States, and how he really wants to bring in brilliant, hardworking, job creating people. And so this is in line with Project 2025, which is the Republican agenda for what they want to do in this administration. And even though there's been a lot of concerning things about immigration in the news, this is a positive development that signals a strong direction for the United States in the future. Next slide, please. So, and for whatever I talk about, this is my lawyer disclaimer. If you need confidential legal advice, don't put your name and your personal question in the chat window. Ask a generic question or try to ask it anonymously. But if you need legal help, the QR code is how you get in touch with us. Next slide, please. And this is me. And the main points I would want to say here are, I have a podcast with hundreds of episodes about how immigration law works. And so if you're curious to get more details on like an H-1B or an O-1, definitely check that out. It's at sophiealcorn.com. And also my hundreds of TechCrunch articles are available on the alcorn.law website, and they're complimentary, as well as my O1 prep course, Alcorn Academy, is now complimentary, and over 1,000 people have taken it. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so regarding this main topic of H-1B and other work visa changes in the US, let's dive right in. Next slide. I mentioned the H-1B modernization rule, and this took effect January 17th. And it's very interesting because it was created by the Democrats, but it would be very hard for the Republicans to change it, because to utilize a cancellation option called the Congressional Review Act, it would limit the administration from creating any similar regulations under the Trump administration. They would have to throw out the rule entirely. And the rule actually has a lot of provisions regarding site visits, anti-fraud, compliance enforcement by the administration. And so that is very useful for this maximum vetting situation that's going on in Trump 2.0. And if they try to cancel the H-1B modernization rule, it would hamstring their efforts to be able to enforce high-skilled immigration. So I think it's going to stick. Some key points are, there's a new definition of specialty occupation. So there might be a wave of new requests for evidence after this H-1B season, where your company's lawyers might have to do more work to prove that you actually work in a specialty occupation. And now they're going to look more at the job duties and your actual transcript coursework, rather than the job title or the name of your major. There has to be this logical connection to the position duties. There's another really exciting thing which allows more nonprofits to qualify as cap-exempt institutions and therefore get H-1Bs without the lottery any time of year. And there's also an expanded definition that would allow private for-profit employers to utilize that cap exemption and be able to get an H-1Bs without the lottery as well. So that's something that we're testing out with some clients right now. And those are the main points. The other main point that's not on this slide is startup founders can explicitly get H-1Bs to work in their own companies if you own more than 50% of your company or you have a controlling interest. Your initial H-1B will be valid for 18 months rather than 36 months, but you can get an 18-month extension and then normal 3-year extensions. So it's really cool for startup founders that there's this blessing in the law that you can own 100% of your company. You no longer need to get some random American board member who can fire you to be part of your company. So don't do that anymore. I know too many people who, lost access to hundreds of millions of dollars from the way we used to do things. If you want to be a solo founder, be a solo founder. Okay, next slide, please.
And Sophie, isn't there a rule change where before people could have multiple lottery submissions, but now it's limited to like one company per person?
Yes, Rob, that's super important. Don't game the lottery anymore.
Hmm.
It used to be legal for more than one company to sponsor a single human for multiple attempts at getting selected in the H-1B lottery, but now that will disqualify you. And so only get one company to put you in. If you need to change jobs later, there's ways to do it, but only just have the most solid, boring company that you would like to work for sponsor you. That's the best way to do it if you have the option. Okay, great. Now, regarding students, because I know there's a lot of international students and aspiring international students, there's some really great protections that came through in the H-1B modernization rule. So the main one is this cap gap protection. So there's OPT, which is a 12-month work permit. And then if you have a STEM major, you can get STEM OPT, which is a 24-month extension. And often those work permits end in June, but the H-1B doesn't start until October. And so there's this old regulation called cap gap that allowed you to stay in the US and keep working for your employer that final summer after your OPT is ending until October 1st if your H-1B got selected in the lottery. But the problem was that a lot of employers wouldn't pay for premium processing, and the adjudications are taking many, many months. So now that cap gap is extended so that if it's October 1st, you no longer are stuck in the US and have to go off payroll. You're allowed to keep working for another 6 months to be able to keep your job and not have disruptions to your employment, which is great. There's new forms all the time. And as I mentioned, there's maximum vetting happening right now. So applying early, being accurate, all of those things matter more than ever. Next slide, please. All right. So regarding other visa updates, the O1 continues to be a strong option. You can be a solo founder. You can have multiple jobs, multiple consultancy works, multiple streams of income. There's a big boost now if you're working in a controlled or critical and emerging technology area. The extensions got improved. So now that O1s have been reformatted, they used to have 3 years original plus 1 year extensions, but now it's 3 years original plus 3 year extensions, which is great and gives people so much more peace of mind, which is wonderful. EB1A has been slow. That's the green card version for extraordinary ability. It has gotten an explicit boost if you're working in AI and emerging technologies and other Trump 2.0 administration types of priorities. And there's more clarity regarding the evidence. And there is a slowness to the adjudication right now where not all premium processing requests are being honored for EB1A because they're inundated with requests. So if your petition takes longer than 15 business days, they'll give you a refund of the $2,805 premium processing fee. Okay, let's go to the last slide, please. Okay, regarding potential policy shifts. So a lot is happening all the time. We're probably expecting more immigration regulations, executive orders, and changes over the coming months. There have been a lot already. There's this immigration policy tracking project that I look at, and there have already been hundreds of changes in the last few weeks. It's a lot to keep track of. But overall, there's increased scrutiny during adjudications. Be prepared for slower processing times. There might be more requests for evidence. There might be higher denial rates. We'll see. That was the case during Trump 1.0, but it might be different during Trump 2.0. We are eventually expecting more site visits to employers, but those probably won't affect too many small, early stage businesses. But there have been, there have been like over 100 changes so far, just in the last month, and we're expecting more. But the gold card and all of that, I think that's really good news. And like, let's say you're, joining us. I think somebody's in Gambia right now, and you don't have access to $5 million. Look, there's a way that President Trump said where if you can prove your value to a company or a scholarship program or somebody, you don't have to be the one paying for your gold card. Somebody else could sponsor you and pay the fee. So there are ways to access this, which is exciting. Okay, that's it for my slides. Thank you so much for letting me present, Rob.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sophie. Friends, we're going to hear now from Mark about the Canada side of things. And then afterwards, we're going to have a little debate and see what are the good things and bad things going on between US and Canada. So, Mark, what is going on with Canada in terms of work visas and immigration, and what do people need to be prepared for?
Thanks, Rob. It's similar to the US. So Canada is changing their immigration policy. If we were having this conversation in June, May of last year, I would be painting a picture of Canadian government's extremely favorable to immigration, student visas, work visas. You get into Canada on a work visa, they're straightforward to get, awarded on merit. You will then be in a permanent residency discussion in 12 to 18 months. There used to be this fast track. It all changed last summer, political reasons in Canada. So now things are more challenging, and they're a bit also unstable because Canadian elections are coming up over the next couple months. Trudeau is going to fade from power. Either his party stays in power, the Conservatives win. No one is clearly defining what their immigration policy will be. So much as Sophie walked through the challenges of the US of saying, what exactly will Trump 2.0 be like? The same is true in Canada. There's no clarity. So at the moment, I could say Canadian work visas that Syndesis works with are still happening. It's just more challenging. There are more pushbacks. There is more request for more information. We're still moving forward. I would just call it a challenging environment, and trying to look ahead on the horizon, see what's going to change with Canadian immigration. It depends on the party that wins. And when they do so over the next 2 to 4 months, no one's saying anything in advance of what their immigration policy is. It's all tight-lipped. Now you end up waiting and watching to see what does Canadian work visa policy turn out to be going forward. It is a bit of a mystery now, unfortunately.
Let me unmute there real quick. So yeah, Mark, you've got experience both having lived, worked, studied in US and Canada. I know Canada before has been kind of an immigration haven, very welcoming, very easy, fast tracks. You guys have found a great niche there with Syndesis to help people in Canada. Is that going to be the trend, or are things pivoting towards how welcoming Canada has been to immigrants? What's your thoughts on that real quick?
I've seen it pivot significantly. So I will focus the conversation on work visas, global talent stream, and the process to get permanent residency. So global talent stream is similar to H-1B. It is focused on STEM workers. It is focused on people who have a certain skill set that Canada has a shortage of. They built a program launched in 2017 to fast track tech workers coming into Canada. There was a time from start to finish. It was 4 to 6 weeks. Very straightforward, purely on merit. Now it is much more challenging. What Canada also did, and this is for, again, current political reasons in Canada, what they also did is permanent residency used to be, again, 12 to 18 months. It is that those days are gone. As things stand since last July, now you're looking at multi-years, and that process also is significantly changed. So what I see is probably just like in the US, political reasons, backlash against immigration. Canada was a lot of people in. The numbers are quite significant. Housing shortage, unemployment ticked up. The current administration, Liberal Party, said, let's put some clamps, let's make some changes. Unfortunately, this swung the pendulum the other way. Moderation when it comes to immigration is difficult to find where that middle ground is. So right now it's in a place of more restrictions. The only thing Sophie had a comment about AI in the US. Canada they have a significant amount of R&D. Jeffrey Hinton has been at University of Toronto for decades. There is other universities in Canada that for a long time have focused on AI. I don't know policy. I have not seen policy written, but I would expect that Canada would do similar to the US, look forward and say, how do we distinguish ourselves economically, especially in light of what's happening in the last 24 hours of tariffs? I would expect the Canadian government to say, we need to make a commitment to AI, and it's going to involve bringing the best and brightest in. That is my hope. That is what I think will happen. We'll have to wait for the next 4 to 6 months to see how Canadian politics play out in policy, but that could be a direction I would think would be a logical thing to do, mirroring what's happened in the US. My opinion.
Great. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Friends, as long, we're learning a lot here, hit the like button or give some love in the chat for Sophie and Mark for hanging out and sharing their expertise with you guys. We got some more to share. We're going to be answering your questions a little bit, but we also want to know, just hear from you, what kind of visa are you guys going after? Please share in the chat, in the comments. We'd love to know kind of the audience today. What visas are you pursuing, applying for, preparing for that visa interview, trying to get sponsored for? Please tell us in the chat which visa you guys are going for so that we can help you out. Maybe you can find some other people, some other friends who are in that same position and can get some resources from each other as well. Okay, so yeah, please share that in the comments. And also, along with these live sessions, there's a lot of other great resources on Chai and coaching. I know Alcorn Immigration, Sophie's podcast is fantastic. I love listening to those episodes. She does webinars. Syndesis also has a lot of great resources. So make sure you're connected on social media, newsletters, all those things. A lot of great free stuff out there so that you're not alone and that you can get the right information. So now, we're going to kind of open up for a little panel debate here. Kind of what is the scenario that we're in a new season, a new era for North America. Relationships a little strange. I don't know if people saw those hockey matches that happened at the tournament lately, some friendly feuding between Canada and USA. But what does it look like? Kind of what are the pros and cons now that people need to know if they're considering North America, Canada, USA, what's going on and where are the high points and what are the low points that people need to know?
Ooh. Okay, look, I don't think you can go wrong. So I know you want us to duke it out, but I will say both are great options. And it probably depends on your goals. Mark, you're more familiar with all the amazing Canada things. I would say for the US, it's a land of freedom, opportunity. You can shape your destiny, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, become whoever, whatever you want to be. You don't have to worry about, pleasing your ancestors or your community. People don't expect you to be humble. You get rewarded for being a bragging thought leader, which can be uncomfortable sometimes, but we reward that kind of behavior in this culture. People are, failure does not kill your career here. People kind of give the latitude and flexibility, especially in Silicon Valley. If you make a good faith attempt at a startup and it doesn't work out the first time, it's like you're not banished from the Valley. If anything, it's easier to raise money for the next startup. So I think if you want to be a founder, this is the best country to do it in. And the Bay Area, I believe, is still the best destination. But of course, like if you want a fintech company, you probably want to be in New York, and there's, if you want to disrupt supply chain management or construction, you might want to be in Chicago. So of course, there's all these amazing regional opportunities that we have as well. But you can really make yourself whatever you want to be. And yeah, immigration is complicated, but if you have a plan, if you have that North Star for what you're going for, if you're proactive instead of reactive based on an employer, you can really navigate the whole path quite well, even if some wait times are longer for people based originally from India or China. So it's not all like beautiful roses all the time, but for some, and not everybody, but for some people, those profound benefits are worth the price of admission, that kind of a thing.
Sounds great. Mark, what are your thoughts?
Well put, Sophie. So for some context, even though I am in Toronto today, I fly home to New York this afternoon. I'm an American citizen who worked in Silicon Valley at 7 different startups in Silicon Valley. I agree with everything Sophie said. There's no counterpoint to that. I respect Silicon Valley. I know a lot of founders. I've worked with a lot of them. I have a huge amount of respect. The scenario where Canada wins is where the US, I believe, isn't an option. So people will come to us and say, Mark, third try in the lottery, OPT is expiring 6 to 8 months. My US immigration lawyer has said, I'm sorry, there is no other option. We call it the plan B. There's 2 other use cases we've seen that have shown up. One of them is a company will come to us, an international company or a US company says, look, we cannot bring this person. We have a job. Our US lawyer, immigration lawyer said, we cannot make this work. This is not going to work H-1B-01. Our option is, our US options don't exist. This person's critical. They are sitting in China, Pakistan, India. We need them here. We don't want them remote. Is Canada an option? Yes, that has worked. I had lunch yesterday in Toronto with someone we brought under that circumstance. His goal was to be exactly where Sophie said, in Silicon Valley, and it was not an option. He started off in Canada. We helped him get here. Now he's the founder of an AI company with the team in San Francisco. I'm like, where are you going to stay? He's like, I'm just about to get my Canadian citizenship. I'm like, cool, wonderful. Can work cross-border, has a team down south. So there's a scenario where, again, I call it plan B. Those 2 use cases I described, those are the ones where we end up helping people. They get to Canada and hopefully they do exactly what this person did and say, I worked in tech and now it's time to start a company. That's to the pure benefit of the Canadian economy. Building tech companies in Canada, if you can have people on both sides of the border, good road to go down. So I guess to sum up, I have no disagreements with anything that Sophie described of all the
Come on, Mark, let's fight.
But at the same time, I realize there's some people who are like, but I can't get that US dream, Mark. That door slammed shut on me. And then I'm like, yeah. Canadian dream's a good one. I've lived in Canada 5 years as a US citizen. I think it's a great place. I've helped over 100 people move here. Their careers are flourishing. Some of them I've started their own companies already. They're freely able to do that in Canada. But yeah, it's very personal decision of where are you best off career-wise. I understand exactly as Sophie said, US has many great things, but Canada does too. And again, the people who don't have the option, Canada works great.
Yeah. So real quick, you guys represent amazing organizations. A lot of comments in the chat are, how do we connect? How do we get help? Who do I talk to? So Mark, tell us real quick, just what does Syndesis do? You founded this company. What are the key paths that people can get help with? And again, we've got all the links that I've shared in the chat and in the video, so you guys can directly connect with our friends here. But tell us real quick just about Syndesis.
We are basically, what the company is, some people come to us and say, oh, you guys are immigration lawyers. No. We work with Canadian immigration legal professionals. We do not give immigration advice. We are a Canadian employer of record that's operated in Canada for over a decade. Over the years, we've employed hundreds and hundreds of Canadians who work remotely for US companies. But we also, as a longstanding Canadian company, have permission to sponsor Canadian work visas, which means if someone fits into a specific use case of they need to move to North America, can't get into the US, we may be able to help you in that circumstance. That circumstance requires you already having a job. So sometimes people come to us saying, can you help me find a job in Canada? We can't unfortunately do that. We're looking to the scenario where you have a US job offer or you have a job offer that requires you to be in North America. then we can offer you options or have a consultation with you and see if the Canada option would work for you.
Awesome. And Sophie, Alcorn Immigration, tell us about the big ways that you can help our friends.
Oh, thank you. So we're a law firm, an immigration law firm that I founded in my kitchen in Silicon Valley 10 years ago in that H-1B season, when I had 2 little kids and I burned out from my dad's immigration law practice, and decided finally after many years that I was gonna create my own law firm in Silicon Valley that would use technology to be able to scale compassionate, reliable support to as many people as I could possibly help. So we've grown over the years. We've helped almost 5,000 people at this point. I have a team of brilliant immigration attorneys and client journey coordinators. And we have a Palo Alto office now. We have a Houston office now. And we serve both companies and individuals with any type of immigration related to technology, startups, high-skilled employment. So a large portion of our clients are individuals who are looking to come to the United States for the first time and need to figure out, based on what they've done in their home country and what they want to do in the US in the future, how to navigate that immigration pathway the best. For most people in the world, coming to university here and then getting a job is the most direct path, but we do help a lot of ambitious startup founders and entrepreneurs. And so they want to jump using their companies. A lot of our clients are also people on OPT and STEM OPT who've caught the startup bug and who are looking for ways to stay in the US without having another company sponsor them, and we can help navigate that. And then yet another group of our clients are technology professionals who've been in the United States for years or maybe decades who want to take control of their immigration and get that green card fast tracked through EB-1A extraordinary ability. So we help both companies and individuals. Happy to have a consultation. If you reach out to us at alcorn.law, I would love to help you, but I will have to say right now, March 5th, 2024, we do not have capacity to take any sort of expedite cases for the next 2 months because we're at capacity and we're building and training and hiring and working to scale. And
it's H-1B season.
And it's H-1B season. So if you need something urgent, we're not the right firm for you. But if you're okay with working on something over the couple months, or if it's a long-term goal, we'd love to help you. Also, I'm a little bit booked heavily for the next several weeks. So if my team suggests, hey, you'd be a great candidate for Alcorn Academy, that's the complimentary online class. 15 videos will help you become prepared for an O1 or EB1 or an EB2 and IW. My book is a great resource. The podcasts. We also have a 4-week assessment and evaluation program called Legal Launch, which is great if you're like, hey, I think I'm qualified for one of these things, but I don't know if my evidence stacks up yet. That's how we can give you the best attorney review. So if you're not immediately scheduled to speak with me, it's because my team is trying to route you through some of these pathways that we've specifically created because we believe they're the best way to help people based on different circumstances in your lives. So trust our process, please.
Yes. And as a way to say thank you for you guys being here, we're actually going to give a copy of Sophie's book away. I've read it cover to cover, filled it with notes, and then I actually gave it to another international student friend because this is such an incredible resource. You guys can teach yourself. This is a guidebook for anyone who wants to come live, work, study, immigrate in America. So to participate in the giveaway, in the comment section, you guys need to put the phrase #workvisa. All right. So put #workvisa, and that's going to enter you in. And so go ahead and start putting those in the comments. There you go. And we'll do that for just a little bit and then let you guys get entered into that. And then we're actually going to do a live drawing here. So let me pull up my other screen.
So exciting. Thank you.
Yeah, I love letting these resources become available to our friends. So again, put that #workvisa if you want. Only one time. It's only going to count one time. No need to put it in again and again. It's going to get you guys. Don't worry. So let's wait just a second. Sophie, how did it feel when you finally finished and published that book?
Oh my God, it was such a relief. That thing had been annoying me for years. I would try to write it on airplanes and it wouldn't come. And then I finally decided to get serious in 2023. And I pushed the whole thing out in a year from start to finish, from writing it, editing, publishing, book cover art, recording the Audible version. It was, because I put in a lot of time and effort, and I could have done the easy thing of like repurposing all my TechCrunch articles verbatim and just putting them into a book. And this was pre-LLMs, so I didn't have AI to help me. But
the book is so detailed, well organized. So no, loved it. Great it's a great like kind of instruction manual, you know, for the US visa system.
I wanted it to be casual and friendly and supportive instead of like a legal jargon manual. You know, I wanted to be accessible.
All right, 10 seconds left, friend. Put in hashtag work visa in the comments or the chat, and we're going to do a drawing here to see who our lucky winner is. So last chance if you want to win a copy of this. Okay, here we go. Who is it going to be? Suraj. All right. Congratulations. Get a picture. Suraj, we're going to hook you up with a copy of that book. Please connect on social media or email, and we'll get your contact information and get that to your way soon. So thanks for everyone participating. If you didn't win and are interested, I've actually shared the link to this book on Amazon. You guys can go there and get it, download it, listen to yourself. It is one of the best resources that will serve you guys. And now, finally, what you guys have been waiting for, the time that we love to help you out, is live Q&A. This is a few kind of important ground rules. One, just ask your questions one time, please. If you ask it again and again and again, it blocks up the comments and we're not going to pick that one. Ask complete sentences, use a question mark, make sure that we have the context. You know, you can ask it in two parts, you know, if you need, you know, break it up so we get all the information. If you just ask, you know, how's this thing, and we don't know what you're talking about, we can't answer that. And then again, if it's a burning question you want Sophie or Mark to ask, live super chats will be prioritized. So I'm going to start pulling awesome questions up on the screen here, and let's get this party started. Mark, first one is for you from Vishal. What are the startup visa options in Canada?
There is a startup visa. Every few months, I'm hearing changes to it. In the past, it used to be a big backlog. So the latest I've heard from Canadian immigration lawyers is changes are coming to the program. I am not hearing about it. Unlike where Sophie described a very clear options in the US, I am not seeing a clear focus on this program. What I expect is whatever new political regime comes in to take Trudeau's place, whether it's his party or the Conservatives, there will probably be a new startup visa program. I would say stay tuned for the next 4 to 6 months to see who wins the Canadian election and what their program is. Unfortunately, wait and see.
Great. All right, so I've seen several questions about H-1B stamping. So Jibby's saying on H-1B traveling to India next month for the visa stamping, any insights on immigration policy, anything happening there? You know, other people are asking, you know, whether they should even go for H-1B stamping in the current administration, or, you know, where to go under the current administration. So a lot of concerns. What are your guys' thoughts on the H-1B stamping?
I just attended a 2-day immigration lawyer conference where many of the attorneys were suggesting not to go at all unless it's, you know, important work travel, important family travel, but not doing like the Machu Picchu trip in the next 4 years for fun and bucket list purposes. But they've changed some of the rules for the lock boxes. So it's more restrictive than it used to be. So you might be scheduled for an interview, and there's not really any one particular consulate that's great that I'm aware of. I think that people's, you know, Telegram and WhatsApp groups to figure that out last minute might be most effective. there is a delay in the State Department posting the visa processing times on their website because of the staffing cuts and the training and the administration changes. So whatever information the government is publishing is probably not accurate, and you can probably assume that wait times will be longer. So I don't know, maybe you can go to Key West or Hawaii for your tropical vacation and explore more of America and just sort of mitigate any unnecessary risks for your status right now.
Sounds good. That's good to know. All right, Div, thank you for the super chat. They've got a 214B rejection for their B1 visa from India. They're asking, recently rejected on B1 under 214B, work remotely as an independent contractor for a U.S. company and was invited for business meetings and training. Unsure if they should wait to reapply or correct their DS-160 and try again immediately. So any thoughts or tips for this person, trying to go again for this business meeting that's been rejected on their B1 visa?
Yeah, I'm so sorry that happened. That's super frustrating. I think your first point of contact should be your company's immigration lawyer, because if there's a systematic thing about the company that's going on, you might have had this denial not because of anything in your own application, but because of whatever the company's going through. Now, the 214B means you can't demonstrate that your activities would be consistent with the B1 visit. So the other option is to get the company to sponsor you for another type of visa besides the B1, like a cap exempt H1B. And Rob, I just want to check if my internet is still working.
Okay. Yeah, you're clear.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Div, I would say too, never assume why you're rejected. 214B is kind of a blanket statement, and so we've got other partners with Chai and Coaching who are expert in visa interviews. So if you really want to reapply and go for this, follow up with some of our other partners from our other videos who can kind of help coach and diagnose and maybe give you a new strategy if you want to reapply.
Yeah,
but you can always reapply.
There's a lot of services with former consular visa officers who have been working at the posts, and they're a really great resource to do interview prep.
Yeah. So you can always reapply. You're just going to need a new strategy and do something different. And so don't give up hope. Okay. Here's a good one from Aditya. Does the US or Canada have a job seeker visa? What are the odds or approvals for Indians considering tougher immigration laws and poor diplomatic relations with Canada, respectively?
I can jump on that one first. This has been a bit challenging in Canada, and it's gotten more so. So there's a lot of people have come to Syndesis saying, hey, I'm applying for jobs in Canada. I want to move. Most probably similar in the US. If you look for a job and you apply for it and it says, do you need any immigration help? And you check yes. And then automatically the response is, Mark, I never heard anything back. What I would suggest is, for this specifically, if you can send us that question, connect@syndesis.com. There is a Canadian government website which shows every Canadian company that has applied for permission to use global talent stream work visas. If you see a company on that list, it's like the H-1B list. It means that company is sponsoring work visas. I would start there, then see if they have open jobs. Then the company at least is saying, we're open to using Canadian work visas. Let's give this a shot. Then you have an open-minded company saying, we're looking for global talent. So when it comes to Canada, that's probably the best way I can answer your question, is to find the people who said, we're going to sign up to do this.
Yeah. And for the United States, there's B1, B2 visitor status. B1 is for business. B2 is for tourism. And when there were a bunch of layoffs a few years ago, USCIS clarified that you're allowed to look for a job on B2 visitor status. Now, I would use that with caution if you're entering from overseas. But you could get a visitor visa, come here, interview, and then leave, and then have the company sponsor you for a work visa. but their options to sponsor you are going to probably be kind of limited if it's not right before H-1B season, which is happening, as I mentioned, starting in 2 days. So it might be a little bit late for that, but there are options to get H-1Bs without the lottery, but not every company is willing to do that. So you have to have a pretty special relationship with a company where they have the funds and they feel that hiring you is extremely urgent and important. And then you could solve it with a cap exempt H-1B. Or a lot of my really brilliant clients, what I tell them to do is get an O1 for themselves for consulting work and then come here, start being a consultant, and then look for jobs. And then if you find a company that wants to hire you, guess what? We can transfer your O1. They can do a concurrent O1. If it's within the realm of what we scoped out for your O1 agent petition, they could just hire you. So, but it does take more accomplishments to be able to qualify for an O1 than an H-1B, but that's another option.
Great. Thanks for those suggestions. Sally's asking, as an F1 student in the US, student visa, how difficult is it to get granted H-1B visa? What are the factors? So all this information's online, but maybe, so if you want to give the quick, real download for that for our friends.
Because once you have a bachelor's degree, you should probably major in a STEM degree. Don't major in English. And then you probably want a tech job. And then basically, if you have an offer, the company has to put you in a lottery typically, and they just have to show they're offering you a professional position. It requires a bachelor's degree and you have the correct bachelor's degree, and they're paying you enough for the geography you're going to work in. So that's basically what it is. It's a professional working visa.
And it's a lottery, so it's not a guarantee. Yeah.
It's more that the lottery, you have about 20 to 30% chances of getting selected. Once you've been through the lottery, you probably have a 90% plus chance of being approved. So getting through the lottery is the main thing.
Definitely. Great. All right. Vishal says, the unwritten rule for Canada is study here first before eligible for jobs. Mark, what are your thoughts on that? Is that a pathway, or is there other ways that are good and viable as well?
It is one pathway, because if you're working on a PhD, master's, bachelor's, again, you're in a STEM field, you're in Canada. I know that pathway got more difficult. Again, last summer was a big turning point in Canadian immigration. This pathway used to be very straightforward. It's just more challenging. That is one way, because you are in Canada, then you're applying directly for jobs. What's extremely challenging, I think, is to the person's previous question of the job seeker, because that person's coming into Canada trying to find the company that's looking to sponsor, that's willing to sponsor a work visa. That is always a bit more challenging. That's why what I would say is most of the people who've come to Syndesis, they're in one of the use cases where things didn't work in the US, or their US company says, we can't get you in, but you have a job here if you can get to North America, but we won't employ you remotely. You've got to get to North America. Or the third use case we see is someone this is an interesting one. Company has a US office. They have an office in India. They come to us and say, we want to put this person in Canada. And our conversation then is, well, we know why, but we used to ask why. And they said, well, we want to bring this person in, but L1 means they're going to go back. We want to put them on a path for being permanently in Canada to eventually get permanent residence. The green card in the US is way too hard to get. We all know that. We're going to choose the Canada option to reward our best employees or to retain them. And I'm like, then Canada's going to work just fine. But in all those scenarios, what you see is there's already a job there. That is the easier way to go. And unfortunately, to Vishal's question, I understand. I can see if you're going to university in Canada, that is one path. I think unfortunately, I have to give the same piece of feedback until the new party comes in power in Canada and defines their immigration policy and how they're going to treat student visas, work visas, and permanent residents. Things are going to be a bit up in the air for the next 6 months. Then it should clarify, and there should be a better answer for that question.
Great. Thanks for helping Vishal there. All right, Gunjan, thank you for the super chat. And we've got your question here. So had a rejection before on B1, B2, and then is that going to affect an F1 visa, how to clear? So my understanding with visa interviews is any prior refusal, any prior rejection is always going to impact a future visa interview. They have that all in the system. And usually if you go for a second or third time, they're going to defer and lean on the decision, whoever made that first one, that first rejection. So you're going to have to work extra hard in the next follow-up, especially if you're going to pivot to a new visa, to really clarify why you qualify, why you're safe, why you're not a risk. Now, it does happen. We have some videos on our channel. Someone had the same situation. They got rejected, their family, in the B1, B2, but then later got their F1 visa. So it is possible. It is maybe good, again, to get some coaching, see maybe why it happened, so you can have clear answers and clear plans for your upcoming. So don't give up, but it will have an impact. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to that.
You just really want to understand the reason why the B1, B2 got rejected. Was it because they thought you didn't have enough ties to your home country? Was it because they didn't think the purpose of your trip was consistent with the purpose of the visa? Was it because they thought you lied about something? Was it because you were involved with a company that didn't have a good reputation? Like, whatever that is, you want to be able to overly communicate why that's no longer the case for your F1 student visa interview.
Yeah, great. All right. Samuel's asking about the U.S. E2 employee visa. Is anything happening with clamping down? Any news on that with any E2 or E visas?
We just got one approved this week for somebody in a Western country with a 5-minute interview, no questions asked. So knock on wood, it's really exciting, but only certain countries are eligible for E2 visas based on treaties. But so far looks good. And if you look at President Trump's chat about tariffs in his first week of office, when he was broadcasting from the Oval Office, he said that the answer to tariffs is, well, come to the US and build and manufacture here instead of in your home country, and then you'll be treated like an American producer. And in order to facilitate that, we're going to need a lot of visas. So the L1s and the E2 visas that were disfavored under the Trump 1.0 administration look like they're going to actually serve a necessary purpose in this new tariff-based economy. So I think these will continue to be valuable options for people.
Okay, great. We got an interesting question here from Desiree. Canadians do not require a visa for TN status. Are transgender Canadians affected by the latest guidelines issued by the U.S. Department regarding visa entry eligibility?
I don't know. That's a great question. Potentially not, because the State Department only governs visas. And since you would be admitted with your Canadian passport through Customs and Border Protection, they might not be required to ask the same types of questions, but I haven't seen that come up yet. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, might need some more research on that one, but good question. All right, we got two-part here. This person has relatives in the U.S. who've been there for 20 years. It's their grandma and uncles. And on their first attempt for F1 visa, they filled the DS-160 that they have no relatives in the U.S. Is that something that they can change or justify? And then also they've got an I-30 pending. And so it sounds like they're trying to F1 student visa, but then have the family and the I-30 pending. Yeah, so thoughts on helping this person?
I would encourage this person to reach out to the other people who've been on Chai and Coaching who talk about visa prep help, because my instinct is you have to disclose it because the government already knows based on your I-130. But then you have to explain why you didn't disclose it the first time. And it could be based on the definition of what is a family member. But that would be where you want to sit down with a former consular officer and really walk through that strategy. They'd be best positioned to help.
Okay, great. Someone asked, could you guys help specify unskilled jobs, or what does it mean for skilled and unskilled jobs when it comes to work visas in US and Canada?
Well, I can make it brief. The US immigration program allows a lot of different types of visas and green cards. Like, you could get a green card to be a cook in a restaurant or a gardener or a farmer. But the reality is that it takes, 4 to 6 years to get people those types of statuses. So nobody does it. So like my practice, when I talk about skilled or high skilled, I'm primarily talking about either people with bachelor's degrees or higher who want to do professional jobs, or a lot of my clients are college dropouts, but they're entrepreneurial minded and they often have a software background. So it's not like a specific thing in the law that defines skilled in the US. How about Canada, Mark?
And disclaimer, I'm not a Canadian immigration lawyer. I definitely work with a lot of them. My focus at Syndesis has been on skilled STEM people, because the work visa we use is Global Talent Stream. It is about technical software, hardware, people who have STEM backgrounds or the managers of them. So all our experience has been using this work visa. We don't really work with unskilled, only because Global Talent Stream doesn't address it. So unfortunately, I can't. There's a whole world of, just like in the US, of bringing in people with construction, agriculture backgrounds, but I have no expertise to share there, unfortunately.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I know on the clock we've crossed the hour. We started the webinar a few minutes late, but just want to check on your guys' schedules. Do you guys have a couple more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to touch base
There's
and
more
make
great
sure.
questions, and I know.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. We'll do a few more questions here. Keep them coming, guys. These are amazing. Aditya and was an international student from India in Ireland. Tried from Ireland to get a B1, B2 to the US, was rejected. Been back in India for a few years now, and wanted to know the possibility of work visas. Does these previous rejections impact work visas, trying to come to North America? What do you guys think?
For the US, probably not. But you would want to get yourself an H-1B because it's dual intent. So if you were denied for immigrant intent before, but you're getting a dual intent work visa like an H-1B where you're specifically allowed to want to immigrate here, then if that's the reason for the B1, B2 rejection, it wouldn't matter for an H-1B and you could still get an H-1B approved.
Okay.
And I don't think it would matter. I don't think it would matter for Canada, right? What your US immigration history is.
The only way it comes into any kind of a factor is that we hear someone that maybe overstayed, like OPT expired, and it's, oh, did you break the rules in the US? That is the only red flag I've heard in Canada of, oh, you have demonstrated you are not following the rules. It's the only time I've heard where Canadian immigration is, oh, now your situation is a problem. Otherwise, they would have no knowledge of what's happening in the US. The focus on Canadian immigration is, do you qualify for the Canadian global talent stream work visa, and are you coming in to the benefit of Canada? No US background acknowledged.
Okay, great. Sally is wondering, is getting a job offer enough as a MBA STEM graduate for an H-1B visa approval?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot more you have to do. Like you need a company that's offering you a real job, that's putting you in the lottery, that's sponsoring you, that has a lawyer that can justify all the legal requirements. But on your end, with that bachelor's degree you must have gotten before the MBA, that would probably be sufficient to justify your eligibility for a future H-1B.
Okay. All right. Deep is asking, does MS nanomedicine come under the TAL list? They said TAL stands for the Technical Alert List word for F1 visa interview, going to Northeastern University in Boston. They've got a visa interview coming up. And so wondering if that would lead to like 221G administrative processing, or if whatever this TAL is can cause any issues. Are you aware of that, what that is, Sophie? Because I don't.
Yes, but I don't know how. I'm not deeply familiar with it, but it's the technology alert list, and it's like a confidential security list for visa adjudications by the State Department.
Okay.
According to Wikipedia, materials technology is on the list, but so is like robotics. So I think, you know, you could talk to your school about how they recommend you address this. You could have a prep interview with like a former consular officer, like I've been mentioning. I do know lots of people who get F1s approved, even if they're working in these TAL technologies.
Great, great. In the comment sections of my videos, I've been getting a lot of questions lately about spouse and fiance visas. K1's a fiance visa. Has there been any changes, any bans, any concerns for kind of spouse or fiance visas as of yet with the new administration?
Not right now. However, we are anticipating that the Trump 2.0 administration is putting together a list of countries that might be subject to visa bans. So it hasn't been announced yet. It might take another month or two, but it could affect people from various countries, but I'm not sure what countries they would be this time around.
Okay, yeah. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
And all right, I'll address this one real quick too. Their sister's going to the US, but can't get the visa slots. I know sometimes there's a long wait to get those visa interviews. You are always able to do a different location, though it's called a third country, but those are typically more scrutinized. So if you go to another country to do a visa interview, know that it'll be maybe more difficult. So there's always a chance, but be prepared to get more questions. Ask, why aren't you applying for your home country? So there's a little more risk with that. But yeah, friends, these questions have been amazing. Again, thank you to Sophie and Mark. And do you guys have any closing words, encouragement, or advice for our friends as we wrap up here?
Oh my gosh. Still pursue your dreams. There's a lot of geopolitical changes, but if you know that you're trying to do something in your lifetime, please do it. Don't put your dreams on hold. Figure out a way. It's always possible. You know, you can go to Canada, you can come to the US, you could go to Europe, but please, you know, make sure that you're moving towards what you need to do in your lifetime, because we need you to be at your best so you can help make the world a better place.
And I would follow on with what Sophie said. We both work with a lot of entrepreneurs. We see what they can build. We work with a lot of smart tech people. I am based in the US. There are a lot of options as Sophie's walked through. Sophie's a great immigration lawyer. Her and her team are always available to help. If you find yourself in a place where you're like, I'm out of options, I cannot make the US work, Canada is a great option no matter what. It is a great path to getting to permanent residence. It's a great place to live. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the entrepreneurs who moved to Canada, now he's got a US company. He's based in Canada. He's building in the AI space. He could not even get into the US. Sometimes as hard as you try, you can't. It's good to have a plan B or a plan C for Canada. I can personally attest to the people I've met. They're exceptional. They've done very well. You can build a great life in Canada.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Again, we've shared all the links where you can follow up and connect with Syndesis and Alcorn Immigration. They're amazing resources. We want to see you guys get success. So please tell us when you get approved, when you get those visas, share the good news because we love cheering you on. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you at the next live session. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody.